son. Yes.
Oh, right. Oh, that was general, okay. And it's 10 seconds.
Okay, we're recording now, so if everyone else could keep nice and quiet, please. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Robert, can you start off telling me a bit about your life in Germany, where you came from, and about your parents and your family?
Well, I came from a town, Neukirchen, near Chemnitz. I went to school there, and I led the life that a normal boy leads at 8-year-old, playing with pals. We had a garage at the back, which we didn't have a car at the time. We had a motorbike and sidecar, but we also kept goats and hens, and I think it was just a normal life. And suddenly, I was put in a train. The reason I didn't know, and I didn't discover till many months later.
Can I ask you what your parents did?
My grandfather actually owned a hotel in Berlin. In 1933, of course, all Jewish people lost what they had. My father was a salesman. He then had to lose his job, and he took any work that was available, handyman here, gardeners, cleaning, anything at all. My mother did the same, any job that was available. The problem was that because she was married, although my mother was Lutheran, because she was married to a Jewish person, she was classed as Jewish, and such, she lost her work as well. So it was any work that was available, they did it.
And tell me a bit, did you go to school, and can you tell me a bit about going to school?
Yes, we went to school just the same as any normal children over there. In fact, when we went back 2 years ago, my cousin and I had an argument about the school I went to. She said we went to one school, and I said no, that wasn't the school we went to, because I remembered the school. And it wasn't until we came home and went through a book of Neukirchen that I was proved right. The school I'd gone to was no longer a school.
Was it a Jewish school? Or
No, all denominational school. And because my mother was Lutheran, we went to the Lutheran church in the town. So the schooling was just normal schooling. There was, before I left, there was a bit of antagonism, a few jibes about Jews and that, but not very much that I can remember.
And were you aware of anti-Semitism, and did it affect you personally?
No, at 8.5, it doesn't really affect you. I mean, you're too young to understand what it's all about. And I mean, I played with the boys I went to school with. I played with the lads up the street. There was no differentiation between, sort of playing with some and not playing with others. The lads who lived round about me, we played all together. Nobody seemed to make the difference.
And can you remember anything of Kristallnacht?
No. In Neukirchen, I don't know if we were the only Jewish family in Neukirchen or not, but there was nothing that I can remember of that. To my knowledge, there was no synagogue in Neukirchen, so perhaps because of that, we didn't feel the full effect.
But obviously your parents were feeling, a great sense of threat, because they obviously started making preparations.
They must have felt the threat was there, and they made moves to get us out, obviously. I don't know the details how they started, but I know that when we came over here, we were told then that my parents expected to follow us very soon after. Unfortunately, the war started before they came out, so they never managed to get out at all.
And can you remember them making the preparations? Did you
No.
know you were going to be?
No. All I can remember is being put on the train by my mum and dad, and then there seems to be a blank from there until we arrived at Selkirk in Scotland. I've been told it's because a child at that age can't accept the fact, and it's just been a blank that my brain has enforced on itself and said, right, that's it, forget it. And because of that, I just seem to have a sort of 3 or 4 day blank. I don't remember the journey. Obviously, I must have come by ship because we landed at Harwich, but I don't remember the journey, and I don't remember the journey up to the Priory.
But do you remember the day that you left?
I remember being put in the train. My sister and I had been put in the train by my parents, but I don't recollect, what we were told about where we were going or anything, and whether my parents had said that, we'll be following you soon or not. I don't recollect that at all.
And do you remember how you felt? Or?
No, not really. I mean, at 8.5, it's hard for a child to say that, they feel something, because it's a wonderland. I mean, you're going a long train journey, It's I suppose, it would be an exciting adventure to an 8.5-year-old going on a train. And because of that, I just, I don't recollect any, shall I say, fear, trepidation or that, It's, I suppose, I took it in the steps of being a big adventure.
And so you got to Selkirk, and what was at Selkirk?
Well, the Selkirk was the Priory. It was a sort of holding station, you could say, and we went there, and from there the children went out to various families. We ended up with a family in Forres, and I've only recently discovered that it wasn't actually intended that we were going there. Mr. Mackenzie and his 3 daughters had a house in Forres, and they got the Church of Scotland News, and there were actual inquiries there for taking in refugee children from the Spanish Civil War. And when they applied, they said, well, there weren't many children left from Spanish, but there were some German refugees, if they were interested, So they applied, and they were asked if they would take 2, because my mother had asked for my sister and me to be kept together. So they said, right, they would take the 2. And the peculiar thing is, Agnes, the eldest daughter, who's a nurse in Elgin, she maintains that she'd never been down to Selkirk. And yet, when I came off the train in Forres, I walked straight over to her, as if I'd known her. Why, I don't know. It's just one of these unexplained circumstances. And then we went from there by car up to the house, and once again, something peculiar which sticks in my mind to this day. We didn't stop outside the house. We stopped maybe 50, 60 yards down the road. And I got out of the car, and I didn't go through the gate we stopped at. I walked up to the gate we were going to stay at. I don't know why, I can't explain it, but it just seemed the natural thing to do.
It's amazing, isn't it? And tell me, when you were in Selkirk, you'd arrived there when you first remember being there, did you speak any English? Did you?
No. No, we only spoke German at that time. We didn't start speaking English till we went to Forres. And one of our favourite phrases, both my sister and I had a favourite phrase, if we got checked for anything, our answer was, "Me no speak English." And we got away with it quite a few times.
And did you, when you were in Selkirk, did you know then you were in Scotland? Did you know what Scotland was?
No, I had no idea. I mean, 8.5, geography is not a strong point, So it's, I had no idea.
And can you remember what your first impressions of Scotland were? whether it was in Selkirk or in Forest?
No, I suppose at 8.5, it's a bit of bewildering, to get into new surroundings and find your way about. But we soon settled down, and then we went to the school there. And one of the things that I often feel was a drawback is that Mr. Mackenzie asked the headmaster at the time if we could, go in maybe 1-2 hours a week into the German class just to keep our German up. And the headmaster said no, he wouldn't do it. So it wasn't until we went to secondary school that we got the chance to take the German as an extra language. And unfortunately, by that time, we'd forgotten so much German because we hadn't used it that I'm sorry to say I came last in my class in German. But I did get my revenge the following year because I ended up first in my class in English. So I was quite proud of myself for doing that.
Did you lose your German very, very quickly when you...
Well, there was no use for it. I mean, my sister and I were the only two, and there was no one else spoke German there except the teachers and the classmates. So we didn't use German, so it gradually faded away. The first time we went back to Germany in '74, my wife and I did a trip over there, and I found that some of the words were coming back to us, asking for a cup of coffee, it's in a tasse of coffee, but small things like that came back without too much prompting. And then the last time we were there 2 years ago, I found that more and more was coming back. I believe that probably if I spent maybe 9-12 months over there, I would probably start remembering more and more. But at the moment, I'm afraid my German is very, very limited.
And can you describe to me a bit about the Mackenzies, where you went to live, who they were?
Well, Mr. Mackenzie was retired. I had his 3 daughters, Agnes, Janet and Jessie. Agnes was a nurse in Grace Hospital in Elgin. Then she eventually went into district nursing. Janet, she worked in the Land Army during the war, and Jessie looked after the house. And that was the 3 daughters, that's all there was. There was old Granny was there, Mr. Mackenzie's mother, and while she was there, we lived in a little cottage at the side of Rambody, and when she died, we moved into the main house. But even at, I don't know how old Mr. Mackenzie would be at that time, but even then, Granny ruled the roost. I mean, when Granny spoke, her word was law. It's the old-style Scottish family upbringing, that she's a matriarch and must be obeyed.
And at school, were people aware of, where you'd come from? Do you remember talking to people or?
Oh yes, it became sort of general knowledge throughout the town. That's where we came from, But there was no problem in the school. There was the usual schoolboy fights, and carry on and that. But I don't think it was because it was Jewish. It was just the normal routine, I got a fight with one, and he got a fight with somebody else, and it was just the normal schoolboy carry on, but not because any background, I don't think.
And you never felt you never had any difficulty because you were German after the war started?
No, there was no. I think the main reason for that is that they recognised that we were refugees from the Hitler regime, and as such, I think it was more sympathy for us than, the penalty of being one of them. I think the attitude in the town seemed to be, oh, these poor souls, rather than, what are they doing over here? And we got on well with the town people, and I got on well with the children at school, so did my sister, and I don't recollect any problems,
And were you still communicating with your parents at this time? Did you know what was?
All we were allowed was 25 words every 3 months through the Red Cross. That's all you were allowed either way. It wasn't until much, much later after the war that I discovered that before I left, actually, before I left home, my father had been to Buchenwald and been back home again. And being 8.5, it didn't really sink in. But it wasn't until after the war was finished that I got to know more about it. And I discovered that both my father and grandfather had been re-interned in Buchenwald. And I'm sorry to say my grandfather died there. My mother, seemingly, as we learnt 2 years ago when we were over, my mother's sister told us that my mother had virtually been living from hand to mouth with friends here, there and everywhere, because the house that they had in Neukirchen, they were put out of that. And some of the German superior race, as they call themselves, moved in. But once the war finished and the Russian zone became occupied by the Russians, the Russians insisted that the Germans who'd moved in move out, and my father got his property back. You know, so my mother and father moved back to the town, or back to Neukirchen and back to the property they had there.
So he came out of Buchenwald at the end of the war?
Yes.
And can you tell me a bit about, because your mother wasn't Jewish, and can you tell me a bit, did her family help her during the war, or?
Well, that I just don't know. My Aunt Lena has told us that my mother went round friends, lived with friends here, lived with friends there. I don't know whether she actually lived with the family or with just friends, but how much the family helped, I just don't know.
Because I think you were saying that her brother was in the army, is that right? Or?
Well, I've been told that her brother, my mother's brother, was actually one of Hitler's bodyguard. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know. It's just information I've been told. So there's a great discrepancy between the two ends of the family. One in the sort of top of the tree, and the other one, you know, being pushed around from pillar to post.
And all this time you were with the Mackenzies in Scotland.
Mm-hmm.
Did they sort of almost adopt you as part of the family? Did you?
Well, I was treated like just another son and daughter. You know, as far as they were concerned, that was it. The Scottish Council for the Refugees were approached once or twice about, you know, making some payments toward medical bills, and a Mr. Smith, is the name I recall, seemed to be very tight with his money, because he said, "Oh, no, you check with me before you get the doctor in," you know. And as Mr. Mackenzie said, no way. When a child needs a doctor, they'll get a doctor, you know. But as far as getting part of the family, we were treated as part of the family. Just another son and daughter, and that was it.
And why do you think, did you ever ask them why they'd taken you on? Obviously you just found out from Jessie about that they saw this advertisement, but do you think they did it just, you know, because they wanted to help out and knew there was
I think it was, they wanted to help, and as the situation was that, you know, my mother asked for my sister and I to be kept together, so I think it was a case of, well, if we're going to take one, why not take the two and keep them together if we can, you know?
Because there were
no other children in the area that I knew of. And since I've come together with the Kinder, I still haven't met any who've been up as far as that, as far north as that.
And did they, because it does seem an amazing thing to do, doesn't it, for a family
Yes.
out there, and to take on sort of two Jewish
Well,
families?
I don't think it was a case of, you know, taking on two Jewish children. It was a case of taking on two children who were homeless. And I don't know, there's something, I think it's the upbringing in the family, you know. There was, to me, Mr. Mackenzie, although he wasn't a regular churchgoer, he was more of a Christian than some of the Christians I've met. You know? He was basically a very good man.
And have you always stayed very close to the?
Well, we've always kept in touch with the family.
Yeah.
Always kept in touch with the family. And when I took on British nationality, that's the reason I chose the Mackenzie name. As you have 3 daughters, nobody carry on the name. I said, well, I'll pay him back by carrying on for him.
And can you tell me about what happened to you, you know, as you went on your career and a bit about your career and...
Well, I served my time as an electrician in Forres. Started to serve my time. From there I moved down to Glasgow and finished my time there as an electrician. Then we got married and ended up in the RAF. I went in for national service, and a married man in national service pay just couldn't make it, so I signed on for the next year. Did 3 years in the RAF and came out. And unfortunately, it was a bit unsettling because I had about four jobs in 6 months after I came out. I just couldn't settle down. Then I got a job with the government as a maintenance electrician. And then from there, it was just a case of, do courses, pass exams and pass boards and get promotion. And ended up with quite a nice career with the government service, working on Crown properties.
And can you tell me a bit about meeting up again with your parents? Because it was kind of quite amazing.
Well, the first time, my mother came over in maybe 55, I think it was. What actually happened, my mother had got permission from the Russian zone to visit her brother in the Western zone. And when she went to Cologne, she explained the situation to the Burgermeister, and he took her East German passport, gave her a West German passport, and she came over to see us. And that was quite an occasion, because Betty at that time was pregnant with her first son, and we went down to meet my mother at Kidderminster. She didn't arrive. We stood there for about 2 hours, and then we came back home, and there was a knock on the door, somebody looking for Mackenzie's. And my mother had actually taken the train to Bridgenorth and walked about a mile up towards the camp where we were in Murray quarters, and found the door. So we took her in, and of course the usual hugs and embraces, and with the fire banked up, and I stoked the fire a bit, and the next thing the chimney went on fire. And before he could blink, there was a fire wagon outside pouring water down the chimney, water all over the floor, and my mother took one look at my wife and said, "No, I wash." And she ended up washing the floor within 10 minutes of being in the house, It must have been a terrible experience for her. But once we got settled in, I applied to the commanding officer for extra leave. I explained the situation to him. He said, "No bother, it's 10 days compassionate leave immediately." So we came back up to Ayrshire, and my mother met Betty's family, and my sister, who was in Glasgow. We met there. Now, when she went back, she didn't tell my father about her visit over here, because as far as the East German passport was concerned, she only had the West German stamp on it. And it wasn't until 1958, I'd be 58, when my father had retired and was allowed to leave the East Zone. The two of them came over to see us down in Ayrshire, and my father wouldn't believe that my mother had been over until we showed him the photos of our visit. So he was quite surprised. But I mean, Betty has been over, well, she was over before that with the eldest boy for about 6 weeks. And then after my parents had been, Betty went back over again with the two boys when they were about 11 and 9. And unfortunately, that's the last time we saw my parents.
Can we just stop there with the Chinese tea?
So your mother came over in 1954. Can you explain a little bit why you weren't able to go over to East Germany?
Well, the main reason was that the job I was doing with the government and high security clearance, if I'd gone over there, I would have had to get permission from the government, because as a government employee, you're not allowed to go to a communist country without permission from them. With the type of work I was doing, I doubt very much if I would have got permission anyway. When we were down in Campbelltown, we got word that my mother was seriously ill. And at that time I decided, I don't give two hoots about my career, I'm going to see my mother. So we made arrangements, I applied through the department. It took several weeks to get permission to go. And I laid it on the line, I'm going, that's it. So I got permission, but I was told then that if you go, forget about your career. You'll end up some backwater office with no security at all. Because, you know, after being in the Russian zone, you don't know what blackmail you're open to and all that. So Betty had decided at the time, if I go, we all go as a family. Because there was every possibility that going to the Russian zone, I might never get back out again. And that's the reason that I couldn't really go without getting permission. And the security clearance would have made things very awkward for me, you know.
And when you did first see your mother again, when she came over here, obviously there must have been a language barrier.
No, because my mother she wasn't proficient in English, but she was very good. She had, in fact, I still have the book she used for learning English. And her English was quite good. It was, not grammatically, it wasn't perfect, but it was, let's say it was 100% better than my German. So we didn't have any problem.
And when both your parents came over, did you meet up with the Mackenzies then with them? Is that right? Or?
The first time my mother came over, we took her through to see the Mackenzies. By the time my mum and dad came over, Mr. Mackenzie passed away. But she met the three daughters. So the family got to know each other, you know.
That's really lovely, isn't it? That's really great. And I just wanted to know about looking back on it now. How do you feel about the Kinder transport?
I think it's something that should never be forgotten, because although I've had a happy life, I've settled down in Scotland, I've made it my country, there must have been a lot of children who weren't as fortunate as I was. You know, some, I mean, in the Scottish Kinder newsletter we get addresses all over the world, you know, Canada, America, Australia, Israel. And some of these are still searching for their roots yet. So, I mean, some have been able to keep in touch, others have not. And from some of the tales you hear, two of the girls at the Kinder reunion, you know, we heard that they ended up in an orphanage. Nobody took them in. Now, what sort of life did they have, you know? Whereas my sister and I were fortunate. We had a family life, and when I look back at it now, I've no regrets. It's unfortunate my parents and us were parted at such an early age, but we were fortunate.
And can you tell me a bit about about all that time that you didn't meet anyone else who'd had the same experiences until obviously that Kinder transport. Can you tell me a bit about that and how you heard about it?
Well, it was I was working in a job in Stornoway, and I bought the Sunday Post on the Monday, of course. You don't get Sunday papers in Stornoway. And there was a sort of 3-line snippet in there that anyone interested in the Kinder, or anyone who knew anything about the Kinder was interested, to contact Doris Sim. So when I came back home, I said to my wife, you know, I think I'll phone. So I phoned, and Doris said, oh, very glad to hear from a new member.
Sorry, hang on a sec, this seems to be collapsing. Just pull it to the back. I'll just back. Sorry.
So I said, oh, she said, I've got some photos here. She says, if I send you a photo, could you tell me if you know anyone on it? So she sent me up the photo, and the photo was, right in the front of the photo was myself in the centre, holding Edith's hand, and my sister on the other side, and our two ladies. And it was a surprise to me because I didn't even know the picture had been taken. So when I wrote back to her and you know, showed her who was who in the picture, she was very surprised. But we all met up at the first Scottish Kinder reunion. And there was a photo in the paper showing us as we were and as we are now.
Can you tell me where that picture was? That first picture was taken.
In Eastwood House in Glasgow. That's where the reunion took place. And
Oh, but can you tell me where
the original picture,
the original picture.
the original picture, I believe, was taken at Edinburgh Station. I'm not certain of that, but I've been told it was taken at Edinburgh Station. But
So obviously that wasn't something you'd remember.
No.
Anyway, 'cause that's-
no, that was part of my blank period.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine actually. Kevin, is
A couple of things. Maybe you could explain to Fran, Robert, about, you know, you didn't see your mother again until 54. Presumably that was because she was in the Soviet
Yes.
territory.
Well, I couldn't go there.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. And also that she couldn't.
Well, they weren't allowed to travel,
and
except with
also-
special
yeah,
permission.
Maybe you could explain that to Fran. And
because
also-
I think we've done it in two separate
Yes, I
chunks,
think
so
we've done
maybe
it.
if you can just,
Yeah.
that's probably
and
true.
and perhaps, you know, what it was like for your mother, you think, sort of not being able to see you for all that time, and how she felt about the Mackenzies. Anyway, Fran,
It's
maybe,
very hard to sort of, you know, put myself in my mother's place for
or maybe I
that.
don't know whether she talked to you about how she felt.
I mean, as far as
Or maybe I'll
I'll
let Fran.
start
Yeah.
asking you.
right,
So Robert, could you do that? Explaining sort of what happened after the war, and obviously you, and about finding out, you know, that your mother was, you know, still alive and everything, but that you didn't see her for quite a long time.
well, we discovered after the war, we discovered my parents were still alive because they wrote us at the address. The reason they couldn't come out to visit was that they were in the Russian zone, and travel in the Russian zone was very limited, and getting out of the Russian zone was virtually impossible unless you had an extremely good reason. My mother got permission to visit her brother in West Germany, so that was an excuse to get out of the Russian zone, and that's when she did the switch of passports and come over to see us. Now, my father, after the war, my father worked in the railway. He was a guard on the railway. And the first time Betty went over with Alistair, he actually met her on the border and took her in the train. But he was not allowed to come out of the Russian zone because he couldn't get permission working on the railway. Why, I don't know. What was secrecy about the railway, I just don't understand. But it appears that once he retired, the Russians were, or the communists were quite happy to let him leave the country. Not, it was a case of leave the country, it's a case of leave the country, don't come back. We don't want to pay your pension, you know. I think that was their attitude. And he got permission to come out with my mother, and that was quite all right. But prior to that, I mean, travel was very limited.
Because it must have been frustrating that, you know, 9-year period before, after the end
Yes.
of the war, and knowing that your parents were alive and everything, but actually not being able to, you know, sort of reunite and meet up again.
That's right.
Do you remember that being frustrating?
I don't know whether it'd be frustrating or not. The thing was, I was a teenager in a settled life in Scotland. I probably couldn't, I mean, I'm older now, I'm wiser now, I can comprehend the thoughts, I've got a family of my own. I can comprehend the thoughts of, you know, parting with my children. As a teenager, it's hard to visualise that. And I don't know if I could at that time I could understand the frustration, you know. But now, I mean, we're having children, grandchildren. I can understand what my mother must have been going through. But at the time, I don't suppose it was really sink into me, you know. I mean, a typical teenager, it's not the sort of thing you think about.
Yeah, because it must have been very strange for her meeting up with you again. She'd left, you know, you'd left as an 8-year-old boy, and then when you met up next to you, a married man, I suppose.
Yes.
Can you imagine how she sort of, or can you speculate on how she, did she ever talk about how she felt?
No. I mean, we used to write back and forth, and as I say, her English was better than my German because she took the trouble to learn English. And, I mean, she always spoke well of the Mackenzies for what they'd done to her family. But we never got the impression of, you know, what her innermost feelings were. Maybe she was good at hiding them, I don't know.
Brilliant.
Something else I just thought went through my head. I can't remember. It's gone out of my head now. Well, I think that's whether he feels Scottish, whether or not people here, people in Scotland, ever guess that he's not.
Yeah, so, well, just to repeat the question, yeah, do you feel Scottish, and do people ever guess, or?
Well, I've taken on British nationality. As such, I can't consider myself Scottish, English or anything, just British, that's it. As regards the people thinking, you know, am I Scots, am I not? I've been told that of the kinder, I'm probably the only one with an accent which is more Scottish than anything else. So I think it'd be very hard for an outsider to say, you're not Scottish. I don't appear to have the latent accent that a lot of the kinders seem to maintain. And quite often it's been remarked on, even among the kinder reunion, you know, that I'm more of a Scotsman than some of the ones who've been in Scotland for many a year. But it's just, I suppose, the accent I've picked up over the years. It's made it into a broad Scottish accent, and I don't suppose anyone who doesn't know me and meets me the first time will think I was anything else but Scottish.
Did the same thing happen with your sister? Did she lose her accent completely?
Not to the same extent. When she did tend to lose her accent, she was married down outside Blackpool, and she ended up to take on a Lancashire accent, more than a Scottish accent. So, but even, I mean, she moved to Australia, and even in Australia, you could still hear the odd twinge of the foreign accent. But I've been told this doesn't seem to be much sign of that in my accent.
It's amazing.
Great.
Yeah, none at all.
No.
Open.
We're not quite up to speed yet. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, Robert, we're not quite there yet.
Very my fault.
Okay, we are.
Wait, just to close that door again, it's probably not the same. Thanks.
Okay, if you just explain what the book is.
Well, this is a book my mother sent with us when we came over here first, showing my sister and I at different stages of our life before we left home. Me as a baby, sitting with my sister in the bathtub, my aunt and my mother looking out the window, watching the three of us play, a cousin and my sister myself, my mum and dad in Chemnitz with the two of us, on my dad's motorbike and sidecar with my aunt Lottie, various shots in the winter time. There's a photo of me with Aunt Gertrude and my pet rabbits on my tricycle. Various pictures of my childhood. And there's one of my leather trousers. Oh yes, it was something we looked at to remind us, but after a while it's sort of, put in the cupboard and left there. But every now and again we'd look through it. There's a photo of my mother with the two of us walking through the Chemnitz.
Did it make you feel upset when you looked at it as a child?
No, it wasn't a case of upset. It was a case of, bringing back memories of times we had and places we were, things we'd seen. And remind us of my cousins and my aunts and uncles.
It must have been quite difficult for your mother to sort of put that together, knowing that maybe she wouldn't see you again.
It's quite possible that, it was a collection of photos. She must have taken quite a lot of thought to put these together. At various stages in my life until that's about the last photos before I came over here, probably. And that's about it. It's, as you inscribed the back. Unfortunately, my German is not good enough to read what she's written in here, but if any of you can speak German, you can translate it. At the time, I would understand it, but now I'm afraid I would need to get the dictionary out to read it properly.
And the cousins that were in the book that you were looking at then, did you meet up with them again?
Yes, we met up with the cousin who's now in the house where I was brought up. We didn't know them before because they lived in Dresden. But when we went over 2 years ago, my cousin Barbara made a point of looking out for my cousin Achim, who used to be a regular visitor to us, me to them, because we're only, 8 miles apart or so. And we looked up Achim, and that was quite an unusual reunion, because I don't even know if he remembered us at the time, probably thought gone somewhere and forgotten about. But Barbara made a point of finding out where I lived, and went to see him. And it was quite a reunion, that. Betty had already met him when she was over the first time, but I had met him since 1938. So it was quite a reunion there.
Great. So just one other thing that we could do, sort of everything on this. Is there stuff always on this side, or is it always
Both sides.
Maybe what we could do is we could do a sort of wider shot focusing on this page, and then we can do it again
And
closer,
everything on that side. Yeah.
something like that, and then we can cut in. We'll do one that takes in the whole thing, and then
Right, not try and get the closer ones on this, we'll leave those for the...
I think so, because I think if we have one that's wider than two, and then one that's closer up, sort of showing it on that.
You can always pick up details.
We'll pick up
Static.
details later, exactly.
Okay, so...
So I think a wide like that.
Yeah,
just
that's
like that.
So, so Robert, this is really just for the initially when you first opened it.
Yeah.
So if you want to
Right,
close...
close this now.
Okay, we're recording again. Very quiet, please. Thanks.
Give it a shot.
And then if you just slowly go through them about the place you were.
It's the one with me as a boy.
Probably better if you
Yeah.
don't
Better
speak
if you don't-
over for
But
this
if you
one.
don't
Yeah.
talk, we'll just get the sound of the pages turning.
I don't know if you pointed or not, I can't remember. Whether you pointed to them when we did that.
I can't remember. I think you were going. You were pointing.
Yeah, I think there were a couple of green points.
I think we're going to do that again, the opening again.
Yeah, we'll
Stop
do
them.
it. And just do the actions and nothing. Great.
to the very, very last page, just if you want to see the writing as well. So quite different too, to find a white pen to write that black. You know, there's a few things.
You just want, if you want to
You
point
want
to
to
that
close it
one.
over and open it to that your own time.
All right.
Just hold it every second. Just once you get your hand away, you've just opened it, and then in your own time you can pull that leaf open. Any particular ones you want to know?
No, well, I think that's probably close enough on that.
Okay.
The next page?
That's right.
So on the motorbike I spoke
Oh,
about.
that's the one on the motorbikes, weren't we?
That one there. Okay, again, if you don't mind, Robert, if you turn the page over and then just turn back to that one. That's great. Just see what's
The rabbit one, I spoke about that.
That's great. Just focus the camera up. Okay, go and turn the tissue back and then open it again. That's great. Leaf. Okay, what's on the next page?
It's just the two
That's
ants.
the leather, so you're talking about the leather.
Yeah, leather trousers.
And again, if you do what you did before, if you turn back and then turn forward, you don't have to hunt around looking for it. Anything like. That's great.
The next one was my mother and the two of us.
Second, huh? Fine to be doing stuff back. Almost. Didn't say anything specific.
No, nothing particular
It's like
there.
wider one, isn't that one?
Well, that's not the word.
That's okay. Right, okay, I'll go back to each one.
The next page? what's the next?
It's my mother and my aunt.
That's really nice when it reads that off the next one. Is that you and your mother?
That one? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that one then if you've got
Right.
back. Could you just take your hand away from it as if that's fine, and then when you go. Okay.
These are the ones you said were the last ones that we'll probably take.
These
Yeah, to get as close to it as possible. You can hit it and then it's called a touching ball. Got a wee bit of chalk on it.
Hold on a minute, hold on a minute. We'll get a couple of practice throws first.
Okay.
It's not bad. It's not there. A bit more. Straight on that side. This is straighter side. There you have your way with it. Try to show me up. I'm supposed to be the star of the picture. See what I mean?
No.
I'm the star of the picture, not you. Too high. Wick off me, that. It's the best bit. That's right. How many I got? You're high. You wick off the two. Oh, you jammy kid. She's not there. She's not there. No. Hey, hold on a minute, hold on a minute. Yeah, got a penny there. You're full in jackers. What? Okay, well. Give me that jack then. If we're going to have the mat at the other end. It gives a line up between the jack and the three. Right, put a penny down. Nearly, but not quite. One. Second one didn't run. Yard shot. Just straight behind that. Half a yard shot. High for that. Right, come on in. Chop your own. Nice.